He called the police on a teenager for looking suspicious, but when her mother arrived, the conversation took a turn he never expected. The sun hangs low in the sky, stretching long golden streaks across Holliston Park, a quiet, well-kept green space in Lexington, Kentucky. It's the kind of place where parents push strollers, retirees take slow evening walks, and joggers loop around the paved trails. The breeze carries the distant sound of laughter from the playground, and a couple of kids race each other down a path near the pond. At one of the picnic tables near the walking trail, 16-year-old Brielle Adams sets up her workspace. She slides her laptop out of her backpack, adjusting the angle to avoid the glare of the setting sun. Her notebook lies open beside her, filled with scrawled notes and highlighted passages, quotes from historical civil rights cases that she's weaving into her report. Her fingers fly across the keyboard as she types, barely paying attention to the world around her. She's been coming here for years, ever since she was old enough to ride her bike without supervision. It's peaceful, familiar, but not to everyone. Across the way, Gerald Whitmore, a man in his mid-50s with a neatly pressed polo and an expensive watch, sits stiffly on a park bench. His daily routine is the same. Come to the park, check his phone, enjoy a quiet break from his home just a few blocks away. But today, something disrupts his usual rhythm. He notices her. Brielle, sitting alone, laptop open, absorbed in her work. His eyes linger. Something about her presence feels wrong to him. Not that she's doing anything inappropriate. Not that she's causing trouble. She just doesn't look like she belongs here. He watches for another minute, crossing his arms over his chest. She seems too comfortable, too at ease, as if this is her park, her space. He scans the area again, almost expecting someone else to claim her. Maybe a parent, a coach, a group of friends, but she's alone. And in his mind, that's enough to be suspicious. Brielle doesn't realize it yet, but she's being watched. And someone is about to make a choice that will change everything. But Gerald, he has no idea who he's about to involve. Gerald exhales, his grip tightening around his phone. Something just feels off about the girl at the picnic table. He shifts on the bench, trying to shake the thought, but it lingers. She's been here for too long. Kids don't just sit in parks alone like that. Not in this neighborhood. Maybe she's waiting for someone. Maybe she's meeting a friend. Maybe she's doing something else. His mind starts filling in the blanks, each thought pulling him further into suspicion. What if she's scouting houses? What if she's on her phone, planning something with a group of others? He watches as she reaches into her backpack, pulling out a water bottle. Her movements are casual, relaxed, too relaxed. He checks his watch, almost 6 o'clock. The park isn't empty yet, but the crowd is thinning. He glances around, looking for confirmation, someone else who might see what he's seeing, but no one seems concerned. He exhales sharply. Just because no one else sees the problem doesn't mean there isn't one. He looks back at Brielle. She's deep in thought, eyes flicking between her screen and her notes, fingers typing away. She doesn't look dangerous, but they never do at first, do they? Gerald unlocks his phone, his thumb hovering over the screen. He hesitates for a second, then taps the number. Lexington Police Department. What's your emergency? His voice is steady, careful. He doesn't want to sound paranoid, just responsible. Hi, yeah. I'd like to report something suspicious. A brief silence. Then, a polite but firm response. What's going on? Gerald lowers his voice, as if he's sharing something important. Something urgent. I'm at Holliston Park. There's a girl here, a teenager, just sitting at a table with a laptop. Alone. I don't know what she's doing, but it doesn't look right. The dispatcher's tone stays neutral. Is she causing any problems? Gerald hesitates. Not exactly. He glances at her again, as if searching for something to validate his call. She's just been here for a while, by herself. You might want to check it out. There's another pause on the other end. Then, finally, we'll send an officer to check in. Gerald exhales. He's done his part. He leans back against the bench, watching as Brielle continues working, still blissfully unaware that someone has just put her in the crosshairs of suspicion. But what Gerald doesn't know is that this call won't go the way he thinks it will. And in a few minutes, he's going to regret ever picking up his phone. Brielle is completely absorbed in her work when she hears the first police cruiser roll up. The sound of tires crunching over gravel barely registers in her mind. She's used to the occasional patrol car passing through the park. It's not a big deal. But then she hears a second one. That's when she glances up. The first officer steps out, adjusting his belt. He's tall, lean, and moves with an air of routine authority. The second officer, stockier with a rigid stance, lingers near the car, his gaze sweeping the park before landing directly on her. She feels their eyes before she hears their voices. Her heartbeat picks up. She pulls out an earbud as the taller officer approaches. "Excuse me, miss," he says, his tone casual but firm. "Can I ask what you're doing here?" Brielle blinks, caught off guard. Homework?" She gestures at the open laptop and her notebook, confusion creeping into her voice. The second officer, the one near the car, watches silently. His hand rests near his belt, too close to his holster for comfort. The taller officer nods, but his expression doesn't change. "We got a call about a suspicious person in the park. Said you've been here for a while." Brielle frowns. "Yeah, because I'm working on an assignment." The words "suspicious person" make her stomach tighten. She looks around, scanning the park. Who called them? The stockier officer, still standing back, exhales like she's wasting his time. "Got some ID?" Brielle hesitates. "What for?" The air shifts. The taller officer sighs. "Just a routine check." She knows what that means. Knows it's not routine for everyone. She's seen kids from her school, kids who don't look like her, sitting at these same tables, laughing, throwing chips at each other. Never once asked for ID. Her fingers tremble slightly as she reaches for her bag. "It's in here." The stocky officer moves just a little. His stance tightens, his fingers grazing the edge of his holster. Brielle freezes. Her breath catches. She knows that any sudden movement could be misinterpreted. Her voice is smaller now. "I'm just grabbing my wallet." She moves slowly, deliberately, every motion exaggerated to prove she's not a threat. She pulls out her wallet, hands them her ID. The taller officer, his badge says Reynolds, takes it, glancing between the card and her face. "You live around here?" She exhales. 5 blocks away." Reynolds pauses. Something flickers across his face. Doubt? Realization? But before he can say anything, a loud honk breaks through the air. A sleek black sedan pulls up fast. The tires barely stop before the driver's side door swings open. And that's when everything changes. But Gerald, watching from his bench, has no idea who just stepped onto the scene. Olivia Barrett steps out of the car, her heels clicking against the pavement with sharp precision. Her navy blue blazer is still perfectly pressed, her tailored slacks unwrinkled despite a long day in court. She moves like someone who owns every room she walks into, and right now, this park is no different. Her eyes sweep the scene in seconds. Brielle, standing stiff, expression unreadable, but her shoulders are tense, her fingers clenched into her palms. 2 officers, one holding her daughter's ID, the other standing back, hand near his belt. A group of bystanders, a mother near the swings, whispering to someone beside her, a jogger who has slowed down just enough to watch. And then Olivia sees him, Gerald, the only one sitting still, watching, she already knows. Her gaze flicks back to the officers, and she strides forward. "Officers," she says, her voice smooth but firm. "Is there a problem here?" Reynolds stiffens. He turns to face her, clearing his throat. We were just..." Martinez, the stocky one, doesn't back down as easily. "We received a report about a suspicious individual." Olivia's jaw tightens. "And that suspicious individual is my daughter." Silence. Brielle exhales. "Mum, they asked for my ID." Olivia doesn't take her eyes off the officers. "Did you? And what exactly made her suspicious?" Reynolds hesitates. "Well, someone called it in." "Right." Olivia nods, but her expression is sharp. "And did this someone mention what crime she was committing? Or does sitting in a park with a laptop count as probable cause these days?" Martinez straightens his back. "Look, ma'am, we're just following up. If there's no issue, we'll be on our way." Olivia steps closer. "Not yet." Martinez shifts slightly. It's subtle, but she notices. "I want to know who made the call," she says. Reynolds clears his throat. "We can't disclose that." Olivia lets out a slow, humorless breath. "Of course you can't." Then she straightens. "My name is Olivia Barrett. I'm a federal prosecutor. And if you think I don't know my daughter's rights, you're mistaken." Martinez doesn't move, but the flicker of realization in his eyes says it all. Olivia watches them process the shift. A moment ago they were in control. Now, they're scrambling. And across the park, Gerald Whitmore suddenly feels very, very small. Because Olivia Barrett isn't just another concerned mother. She's a problem. Martinez stiffens, his posture going rigid. The moment Olivia Barrett introduced herself as a federal prosecutor, the entire dynamic shifted. Reynolds adjusts his belt, suddenly uncomfortable under her gaze. He doesn't make direct eye contact, instead looking down at Brielle's ID still clutched in his hand. For the first time since arriving, he looks like he's second-guessing himself. But Olivia doesn't give them time to recover. "So, let me get this straight." She folds her arms, voice calm but cutting. "A man calls in a suspicious person. a 16-year-old girl doing homework in a public park. And instead of questioning the validity of that, you show up with your hands near your holsters. Martinez squares his shoulders. Ma'am, we were just following protocol. She cocks her head slightly. Oh, and what's the protocol for racial profiling? Silence. Brielle watches closely, her heart pounding. She's seen her mother work before, watched her cross-examine witnesses in courtrooms, but seeing her tear into two cops in real time, she's never been more grateful for her. Reynolds clears his throat. Look, we didn't know she was your daughter. Olivia's brow arches. Would it have made a difference? He hesitates. He knows the answer. The weight of the moment hangs between them. Martinez shifts uncomfortably, exhaling sharply through his nose. Olivia takes a step forward, unshaken. Let me explain something to you, officers. She enunciates each word with measured control, like she's giving a closing argument in court. I've spent decades dismantling cases that start just like this. Cases where a phone call turns into harassment, harassment turns into escalation, and escalation turns into something that destroys lives. Reynolds swallows. You saw a black teenager sitting alone, and instead of asking questions, you assumed. Olivia continues. Instead of thinking for yourself, you let someone else's bias dictate your response. You let a call from a stranger, tell you that my daughter was a threat. Martinez shifts. That's not what happened, isn't it? Olivia challenges. Because I'd love to hear another explanation. Neither officer speaks. Brielle glances between them. She watches how their confidence crumbles under her mother's relentless pressure. And then, Olivia does something that makes both men flinch. She smiles. But I'm not going to file a complaint, yet. Reynolds' jaw tightens. Martinez's shoulders relax just slightly. Olivia turns, scanning the park, until her eyes land on Gerald Whitmore. She already knew he was the one who called. She saw the guilt in his face before she even stepped out of the car. She takes a slow step toward him. I want to talk to the man who made the call, and just like that, the officers aren't the only ones under the spotlight anymore. Gerald freezes. For the last few minutes, he had been nothing but an observer. Watching, waiting, expecting the officers to handle it and move on. Now, he's the one being called out. He swallows hard as Olivia turns toward him, her gaze piercing. I assume that was you, she says, voice level. Gerald clears his throat. I was just being cautious. I didn't mean what? Olivia tilts her head. Didn't mean to waste police resources? Didn't mean to assume my daughter didn't belong here? Didn't mean to weaponize your discomfort? Gerald's face burns. I just thought... You thought she looked out of place. Olivia finishes for him. You saw a black girl alone in a public space, and your first instinct was to call the police instead of minding your own business. Silence. Gerald glances at the officers as if searching for backup, but they stay quiet, waiting. A few feet away, Brielle watches, her chest tightening. She feels raw, exposed. She wonders how many times people like Gerald saw her before and thought the same thing, without ever saying it out loud. I was just trying to look out for the neighborhood, Gerald mutters weakly. Olivia lets out a low, humorless laugh. Oh, were you? She gestures toward the same picnic table where two white teenagers had been sitting earlier, kids who had come and gone without a single question. You didn't call when they were here, Olivia points out. Why is that? Gerald has no answer. His throat bobs. His hands tighten around his phone like he wants to disappear. That's the problem, Olivia says, stepping closer. People like you think you're protecting something when all you're doing is causing harm. She gestures at Brielle. You didn't just disrupt her afternoon. You confirmed everything I've had to teach her about how the world sees her. You reinforced a fear that one day this might not end with just a conversation. That next time the wrong officer might show up. Gerald's face pales. He knows what she's saying is true. She shakes her head. And all because you felt uncomfortable. The weight of her words settles on him. A jogger who had been pretending not to listen stops stretching and turns away. A woman pushing a stroller quickens her pace. They all heard. The officers shift uncomfortably, waiting for permission to leave. Olivia turns to them. I hope you think twice next time. And I hope you ask yourselves why you didn't stop to question the report before you came charging in. Reynolds nods stiffly. Martinez mutters something under his breath. Then, without another word, they turn and walk back to their patrol cars. Gerald swallows, standing quickly. But Olivia steps aside, letting him pass without another glance. He hurries off, his head down, his phone gripped tightly in his hand, and as he disappears down the sidewalk, Brielle finally exhales. Her mother places a hand on her back. "You okay?" Brielle nods, but her voice is tight. "You shouldn't have had to come here at all." Olivia sighs. "I know." They start walking toward the car, leaving behind the officers, the bystanders, and Gerald Whitmore, who will likely remember this moment far longer than he expected. Because today, he learned that his assumptions had consequences. As Brielle and Olivia walk toward the car, the world around them feels different. The park is still the same winding paths, same clusters of trees, same golden sunlight filtering through the leaves. But now, there's a weight in the air, a charge that wasn't there before. People are watching. A woman near the swings has stopped pushing her child for a moment, her lips slightly parted. She isn't staring, but she saw everything. A man with a golden retriever, who had been passing by with his earbuds in, glances their way. He had pretended to be lost in his podcast, but his face is tense now, his steps hesitant. A group of teenagers at the basketball court, who had been playfully shoving each other moments ago, are suddenly still. One of them, maybe 15, maybe 16, meets Brielle's eyes for a split second before looking away. The officers are gone. Gerald is gone. But the moment lingers. Brielle exhales sharply as she reaches the car. "Are you sure that's it?" she asks, her voice tight. Olivia unlocks the doors. "For today, yes." Brielle bites the inside of her cheek. The frustration is still there, sitting just beneath the surface. "For today," she repeats. Olivia turns to look at her. Really look at her. She knows that tone, knows what it means. "Tomorrow?" Brielle asks, voice quieter now. Olivia doesn't lie. "Tomorrow, we keep going," she says. "Like we always do." Brielle looks away, nodding, but her jaw is still tight. Olivia doesn't push. She just opens the driver's side door and slides in. Brielle follows, pulling the seatbelt across her chest, staring straight ahead. And as they pull away, Gerald Whitmore, still sitting on a far bench, watches the taillights disappear. He doesn't move for a long time. His hands are still wrapped around his phone, but for the first time in a long time, he doesn't know what to do with it, because today, he wasn't the one in control, and for the first time, he had to sit with the consequences of his own fear. Stories like this happen every day. Maybe not always in a park, maybe not always with a federal prosecutor arriving in time, but the assumptions, the fear, the choices that lead to moments like these, they are very, very real. Brielle did nothing wrong. She sat at a table, opened a laptop, typed words onto a page. But someone else's perception turned her into a suspect. What if Olivia hadn't arrived? What if the officers had been different? What if Brielle had reacted the way any normal person would, frustrated, confused, asking too many questions? Would they have let her go? Or would this story have taken a different turn? We know the answer. And that's why conversations about bias and perception aren't just social issues. They are life and death. So the next time you feel yourself making an assumption about someone, pause. Ask yourself, why do I see them this way? What story am I telling myself about them? And what could happen if I act on that story? Because assumptions have consequences, and some mistakes can't be undone. If this story made you think, share it, leave a comment, and if you haven't yet, subscribe. Because there are more stories that need to be told.